Hey, New Life Church, and welcome to this online series of Walking with God. If there was one thing that I wanted our church to be known for, it'd be that we were people who walked with God, because there's a lot of voices out there, yet one voice that truly matters, and it's the voice of God. And so today I want to talk about that. Like, how do we connect with God? How do we hear his voice and be guided by him and walk in tune with the Spirit? I think a lot of it has to do with one word. It's stillness. Stillness for me is a difficult topic because I'm not a still person. I like to move fast. I have a lot of energy. I'm ADD. I can't really focus. And the first time I ever had to really be challenged in my relationship with God by being still in his presence was in Bible college. My professor for our final asked us to sit in 4 hours of solitude with God and to write a paper on it. That sounded like absolute torture to me. I was like, what are you trying to make me do? I don't want to. And it was tough, y'all. But then after I did it, I realized why. It's because in those moments where you're just still and quiet, that is when God speaks to us. It's in his character. In Psalm 107, verse 29, it says, he stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed. Also in 1 Kings, Elijah's trying to hear from God, and this fire comes and an earthquake happens and this gale force wind blows, yet God's voice isn't in any of those three. And then finally there's this gentle whisper where God approaches him and speaks to him. Why would God speak in a whisper? I think it's because you can only hear somebody whispering if you get up really close to them. Emily, my wife, has a very sweet voice, but also a soft voice. It's kind of hard to understand her if you're really far away. Her voice just doesn't carry well. And so if she yells something for me to do from across the house, I'll run up to her now, because if I don't, I'm just gonna guess what she's trying to say, and then I'll forget to do what she asked me to do, and then she's gonna be upset at me, and I don't want that. So I'll run into the room and I'll say, yes, baby, what you need? And then she'll tell me, and it's been really cool for our relationship, because every time she needs something, I get to see her and we get to have a moment right there and we get to talk and I get to hear what she's trying to say, and then I get to go do it. And God really works the same way. When we're still, when we come to his name in quietness, that's when he speaks to us. And so I just have a couple tips for us as individuals when it comes to our relationship with God, or even, as a family, on how to connect with him. And the first way is that we got to step out. If we want to be still and connect with God and hear his voice, we have to step out by doing something that we haven't done in our faith before. I think of Jacob from the Old Testament. The moment he stepped out in faith to connect with God, God met him right there. He encountered God immediately. And the same can be true for us as well. Many of you stepped out during the week of prayer and fasting. And for the first time, you heard God's voice because you did something new in your faith that you hadn't done before. When we step out, God speaks to us. And number two, and this might be the most important one, is we must separate completely. You can't be still unless you're willing to separate from the craze, separate from the chaos, and really hear what God is trying to tell you. When we were kids, Hunter and I, we'd play video games upstairs in the game room. And if Dad needed to tell us something important, he wouldn't just yell it carelessly and hope that we were listening. He would yell up, "Pause the game!" And then we would come downstairs and be like, "Yes, sir, what do you need?" And he'd say, "The oven's on 400. I got to leave the house. Check the chicken in 15 minutes or you're going to burn the house down and the dog's going to die." Okay, that's pretty important. Yes, sir, we'll do it. And the same is true in our relationship with God. Unless we separate from him, separate from life, pause what we're doing, we're going to miss his voice over and over and over again. In Psalm 23, it says that he guides us beside still water. And I think the reason this is important is because if you've ever been to a creek where there's rushing water or there's rapids with high volume of water, it's loud. Like you can't even hear somebody from across the creek if you yell at them, if there's enough water coming down the stream. But if you go somewhere where there's a still, soft water, no wind, you can hear like a pebble from across the lake being dropped into a pond. You can hear fish surfacing to the water and birds chirping. And the same is true in our relationship with God. When we have a place that we can separate quietly to and just be still in his presence, he speaks to us. And I don't know about you, but man, I want to hear God's voice always. I want to hear everything that he's showing me, everything that he's telling me. And that starts with the practice of being still in his name. So there's just two things that you can do. Step out, do something new in your faith. I'm working on something new this year. And I challenge you to do the same. And then number two, separate completely. Have a place, whether it be in the morning or at night, where you can get alone, get in the word, be silent for a few minutes and hear him. And in those moments, it says that he speaks to us. It takes time to figure this out, your routine, but when you do, he honors it and he's going to speak to you, and we're going to grow in stature, in favor with him, and we're going to learn how to walk with God. Amen. Love you guys. Let's do this together.